Hi, Ellie Chevalis here. Today we are going to start the first chapter, the first verse of the book of Kohelet, the book of Ecclesiastes. Like I said, I'm going to read things in the original Hebrew, but also explain everything in English. We're going to stick with the basic understanding of the text, but also try to extrapolate a takeaway. The first verse is an introductory in nature. It's very short, but it has in it hints to some universal truths. So I'm going to read it in Hebrew and explain. Divrei Kohelet ben David melech b'Yerushalayim. So the simple explanation of these words is the words of Kohelet, the son of David, the king in Jerusalem. Okay, so at the surface level, what this is telling us is here is what Kohelet is going to tell us. As we said in the introductory mini class, Kohelet was one of the names of King Solomon. As we see in this verse, King Solomon was the son of King David. He was very, very wise. And let's go through each of the words in this verse. The word divrei in Hebrew is from the word davar, devarim, which means words. It actually has two other meanings. It means words, it means physical objects, matter, and it also means leader. So in biblical Hebrew, when there's a word that has multiple meanings from the exact same root, there's a tradition that there's some sort of connection, some sort of ideological idea connection, conceptual connection between the three meanings of the same root. And so with the word davar, which is a fairly common word, the book of Deuteronomy in the Tanakh and the Chumash, which is the Pentateuch, the Bible, also is the same word, devarim, words. And so one of the explanations is that our words are more than just breath. They're more than just ethereal, but there is constancy, there is concreteness, that there's a creativity that words have, just like matter, just like objects. And there is a continuum of existence from thought to speech to action, right? So there's energy, there's articulation, there's the words themselves, and then there's how those words translate into what we do, right? And what we affect in the physical world, in the real world, right? Okay, so that's the meaning of the word divrei. There's another tradition that tells us that when we see this particular word for words, because there's other words for speech, it means specifically words that have some sort of constructive nature. They're teaching us, they're instructive, they're asking us to change something or to do something to improve. Okay, so that's the word divrei. We're going to be learning words that are constructive, that are creative, that compel us to do something, and that lead us. Okay, kohelet means gathering, a collection. This is a collection of thoughts. And that was one of the names of King Solomon, because one of the primary values that he stood for was amassing knowledge. So there's the words, there's the self-definition, right? The name that he took for himself, Kohelet. Ben David. David was his father. So besides for what we say, what we do, what we manifest into the world, there is our identity that we forge for ourselves. In his case, it was Kohelet, the collector of wisdom. But part of who we are is our background, where we come from, our parents, our families, right? Where we gleaned our values and our information from. So he was the son of David. That was part definitive for him. He was royalty. And a lot of his values, a lot of his wisdom, he collected from the house where he grew up. Melech, king. So this was the role that he played. He was very young. He was, according to some people, he was 12 years old when he became a king. So this was also very self-defining. This is very much a part of his self-expression. And he wasn't just a king in the sense of being wealthy or having power, but he utilized his influence to create a value of peace, of prosperity, of wisdom, and of morality in his kingdom. B'Yerushalayim, in Jerusalem. So besides for where we hail from personally, the families that we grow up in, and the identities we forge for ourselves, the personalities that we're endowed with, we are inevitably affected by the cultures, the communities, the surroundings that we find ourselves in. And Jerusalem is known as a place that fosters spiritual consciousness and personal growth. And so in these few sparse words where Kohelet, where Shlomo, King Solomon, introduces his collection of wisdom, he wants us to know that this wisdom exists in a context. It's words that construct, collections, words of wisdom that he gathered over the course of his lifetime from his family, from his role, from his self-definition, and from the place, the context, the spiritual an envelope where he grew up and where he developed his ideology.